Hey, Howard here at 82 Maple, and I love my little Stihl MSA 220C battery operated chainsaw so much I'd buy it all over again. Hey, that's exactly what I did. I went and bought a second one. So when you see videos of me out by my Norwood HD36 sawmill, you'll see these sitting right behind the operator station on a little table, not entirely dissimilar to this. And so this little guy, which is completely stock, I use for trimming errant branches, cutting slabs into firewood, and more. And this one is connected to the little log wizard debarker, which I featured in another video in this series. Love these. There's just so much to love about them. Just pull the trigger and go. No fueling, no mixing fuel, no muss, no fuss, all the right stuff. The battery life, I got the big batteries for these, and it's just terrific. They recharge in a relatively short period of time. I couldn't be happier with the overall performance of the stock saw itself. Any issues I have are, I gotta be clear, any issues I have are related solely to the way I use the second saw I bought. And that is, it's dedicated to that log debarker. And I fully realize that the saw maybe wasn't even engineered or intended for that. So no complaint about the Stihl organization. I've been using Stihl chainsaws since I was 13 or 14 years old. Love them. They're terrific. These in particular, again, are well balanced, well designed, plenty of power for what would be expected of something with a 16-inch bar on it. And hey, before I go any further, how about I take a moment and introduce you to the rest of the Stihl family that resides here. Okay, so here we go. I'm not going to start with this first one. I'm going to start with the second one. This MS290 is the workhorse around my little property. It fells trees. It bucks firewood. It does just about anything that I need done that can't be accomplished with those wonderful little battery operated saws that are sitting over there and that we just talked about. So love it. I can give it 1 or 2 cranks at most and it's up and running. Perfect. Now this one here is a little older vintage. It's very special. Never selling this one. Hey, my dad just turned 99 and 3/4 years old. Well, he will, yeah, about 3 days from now. And this was his saw up until about 4 years ago. I think it was a decade old at the time that he turned it over to me. Super special. It's totally tuned in and ready to go at a moment's notice as a backup to Plan A. Now this one is about a year old, and this is also very special. It's the power head for my Alaska chainsaw mill. And if we go around to the other side of this, you'll see that I have the cover off, and I just love this. The nuts for tightening the bar after putting the bar and cover on can't fall out, can't possibly get lost. Perfect. And still now there's a pun, stock every chainsaw man's tool. Just a terrific saw tons of power, does an admirable job of performance running a 52-inch bar for the Alaska chainsaw mill. Now back to the subject matter at hand. Love these little saws, no fumes, pull the trigger and go. After you charge that battery, remember to refill the chain oil, and they're terrific. You know, I don't think, again, that Stihl ever intended that one of these saws was going to be running a Log Wizard debarker. Prior to getting the second electric saw or battery operated saw, what I was using for the Log Wizard was an old saw that I had kicking around. It's one of those no-name brand saws that you use for doing all the ugly work. And it was gasoline powered. I can't even remember the name of it, but it performed perfectly in terms of running the little debarker. But it was 7 or 8 years old, and its demise had nothing to do with the debarker, but rather 6 or 7 or 8 years of neglect, if not outright abuse. And it died, and so the little Stihl MSA 220 became the replacement. And therein lie any issues at all that I have with these battery operated saws. Let's touch quickly on them. So I've cleaned this up a little bit, but using this debarker, it seems that the debris produced just comes straight back here, and this little guard seems to be a lot smaller, a lot meaning maybe 15, 20, 25% smaller than on the family of saws that I had just shown. And again, I don't think that Stihl ever intended that this was going to be used for a debarker, but what I have to do is literally hit this with an air compressor. Even this doesn't clean the spaces out adequately to prevent debris from falling in here. Don't want that, because if I plug my oil duct down here, I can kiss this bar goodbye in a very short order. The other issue is, wow, I've left this just the way it was after one battery recharge following the use of the debarker head. And this just plugs right up. I'm throwing a photo up right now showing what it looks like when I pull this apart. And that just totally wreaks havoc with a couple of things. Number one, I don't like all that debris around there. But, you know, that's my issue, not Stihl's issue. But you'll notice a pretty distinct difference in the side cover here. First of all, it doesn't have the 2 Stihl tightening nuts that we're very much used to, and it doesn't have the adjustment, the hole through the side cover to the adjustment for tensioning the chain. And any level of debris, even on this saw here, essentially renders the chain tightener, I'm just zooming in here a little bit, useless. So it's completely useless on this saw, but if I don't remove and clean the cover, the inside of the cover really well, every second battery charge on this saw, this tensioner simply ceases to function. Hey, again, I gotta tell you, I'm incredibly reluctant to offer up any criticism at all around a Stihl product. I've been using Stihl products since I was 14 or 15 years old. Hang in here with me for a couple more minutes, and I'm going to zero in on the very first chainsaw I ever put my hands on, going way back to when I was 11 or 12 years old. Any comments I have are simply around the Stihl's appropriateness to run a debarker for the portable sawmill owner. And so let's flip over now, and we'll take a look at a vintage saw. I hope you enjoy it. Well, this is it, the very first chainsaw I ever operated. It was made by a division of IEL, and it was called the Pioneer Chainsaw. Original colors. This model was turned out in 1957 and 1958, right here in Vancouver, BC. My dad bought it used in probably, as best as I can recall, 63 or 64. It had a brand new 24-inch bar on it. He paid $90. This was at a time when BC's forest industry workers had a base rate of pay around $1 an hour. So it represented 90 hours of work in the forest industry to buy one of these. And the bar, I remember my dad remarking, "Howard, it has a brand new bar on it, and the bar sells for $1 an inch." How about that for a look back into yesteryear? It was just a terrific saw. My dad taught me how to use it safely and properly to buck firewood out of logs. He had a special device that he constructed to hold the logs secure, and so I was so proud of myself bucking 15-inch blocks off the end of those logs. Now, fast forward a few years to when I was in my early teens and to why I fell in love with the Stihl brand of chainsaw. One day, my dad came home with a brand new Stihl. It had about a 20-inch bar on it, but it was about half the weight of this big boy here. And when I was 15 or 16, I actually used that saw to fell trees and clear roadway of about 1,000 feet on a property that we owned. And thanks to my dad, who had seen more than his share of accidents in BC's forest industry, it was his care, his instruction. He was in the role of plant manager for an interior forest industry mill, just to give you that little insight. But it was his safety instructions and teaching that was kind of the foundation of keep those 8 fingers and 2 thumbs. That's our mantra here at 82 Maple. As we're wrapping this up, hey, thanks for letting me take this little interlude and go back in history. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your subscribe. Just getting this little YouTube channel going, and your support means a ton. Stay tuned.